Sit at the typewriter and bleed. Wow. I mean, for anyone who's ever tried to write a story, that feels painfully true, right? You're buried in advice, lost in a jungle of conflicting rules, and just trying to find a clear path forward.
Dear book lovers, welcome to another insight-packed book summary episode of Summeripedia. We are here to bring you more titles in less time. But what if you could trade all that chaos for a clear map? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today. In this explainer, we're diving into the important and highly practical lessons from the book, The 8 Crafts of Writing by Stefan Emunds.
Now, this book is for any writer out there, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for years who feels overwhelmed and is looking for a clear, structured system, a way to turn your brilliant ideas into compelling stories that actually engage readers. So let's get our bearings and see how this map can finally lead us out of the wilderness.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start by exploring that writing jungle so many of us are lost in. Then we'll reveal the author's powerful map for storytelling. After that, we'll see how it all points to the ultimate goal, reader engagement. We'll also meet the author, and we'll wrap it all up with your key takeaways.
All right, first up, the writing jungle. Let's talk about that jungle, because it's a place every single writer knows a little too well.
You know, just think about all the advice you've probably heard. Create conflict, be original, write what you love. Now, on their own, they sound pretty inspiring, right? But when you throw them all together, it's just confusing. Which one do you prioritize? Which rule are you supposed to follow when they seem to completely contradict each other? It's a total mess.
And Stefan Emunds puts it perfectly. He says learning to write can feel like being parachuted into a dense jungle without a map. You can only see a few feet in front of you, and you're so focused on the tools, you can't even see the art. You're just completely and utterly lost.
But what if you had a map, right? What if there was a structured overview of that entire writing wilderness? Well, that is precisely what this book provides. And here it is. This is that map, the map of storytelling. Honestly, this single diagram is the heart of the entire book, and it is designed to completely change how you see the writing process. It takes all that chaotic advice we were just talking about and organizes it into a clear, actionable framework. So let's break it down.
So the map is built on 8 fundamental crafts. You've got your big idea, that's your core concept, the narrative, how you tell the story, genre, which is all about the reader's expectations. Then there's the story outline, your blueprint, scene structure, the building blocks of the whole thing, world building, making that setting believable, characterization, the people who drive the story forward, and finally, prose, the actual words you use to bring it all to life.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how Emunds redefines what a story even is. He argues that, a pleasant experience, like a nice vacation, that's not a story, it's just an anecdote. A true story is a dramatized virtual adventure. And here's the crucial point, the big takeaway: no challenge, no story. Stories are, at their core, about inspiring struggles with adversity.
Okay, so we have our map. But where are we going with it? What's the destination? According to Emunds, it all comes down to a single, incredibly powerful goal.
And this visual just illustrates it so brilliantly. The 8 crafts aren't just a random checklist. Think of them like an interconnected system of gears, and they're all working together to turn one central engine: reader engagement. That's it. Your one and only goal as a writer is to get readers to invest their time, their trust, and their emotion, and to keep them turning those pages.
So where does engagement start? It starts with empathy. Emunds calls it the root engager because honestly, without it, nothing else works. It's simple. If your readers don't care about your main character, if they aren't rooting for them, they won't feel any curiosity about what happens next or any real tension when things go wrong.
Okay, next up is curiosity, which the book describes as an intellectual affair. The way you create it is by raising questions that are tied to challenges. Will the hero succeed? And here's a really great insight from the book. The bigger the power gap between your hero and the villain, the more curious we become. We don't just wonder if they'll succeed, but how on earth is it even possible? And this is where it gets really clever. You don't just ask one big question for the whole book. You nest them. You have a question for each scene, which builds into a chapter question, which then builds into an act question, and all of those are serving the main story question. By constantly raising and answering these smaller questions, you keep the reader absolutely hooked, page after page after page. And finally, we've got tension.
This is the emotional side of engagement. It's that feeling of worry and hope we get from the gap between what a character desperately wants and the reality they're actually facing. But again, you have to remember, tension only works if that first gear, empathy, is already locked in place.
And the book shows that tension isn't just constant. It follows this really predictable arc. An adverse event happens, tension starts rising steadily, it hits a peak at the climax, and then it releases in the resolution. Getting a handle on this arc is absolutely key to creating a satisfying emotional journey for your reader.
So, who's the person behind this incredible map? Who's the cartographer? Let's take a quick moment to meet the author, Stefan Emunds.
So, Stefan Emunds is an expert at applying the 80-20 principle, basically getting you 80% of the knowledge in just 20% of the time. His whole approach is about providing that structured overview and sharing practical, proven methods. What I love is that his focus isn't on some lofty, unattainable idea of genius. It's on the real-world craft of turning that messy, crappy first draft into an excellent, polished final story.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, so let's boil this all down into a few key takeaways you can start using right away.
So, what are the biggest lessons here? First, stop wandering around in the writing jungle. Use the map. Second, focus on mastering those 8 crafts as an interconnected system. Third, always remember that every single craft serves one ultimate goal: reader engagement. To get there, your most powerful tools are empathy, curiosity, and tension. And finally, never forget that core idea. A great story is an adventure, and it is always, always fueled by adversity.
And that brings us to our final question for you. Looking at that map with its 8 distinct crafts, everything from the big idea all the way down to prose, which one do you feel you need to work on the most? Which craft, if you really improved it, would make the biggest difference in your writing right now? Let us know down in the comments.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more impactful book summaries from Summerpedia.